For decades, we've searched the stars not just for planets or faint signals, but for anomalies, those rare, haunting moments when something out there refuses to follow the rules. And now, the James Webb Space Telescope may have uncovered exactly that. What started as a routine observation of the third interstellar object ever recorded in our solar system, 3 Atlas, has spiraled into something far stranger, far darker, and infinitely more important. Because somewhere deep in the cold void beyond Mars, Webb detected something it should never have seen. Not just light, but artificial light. A glow behaving like no comet or asteroid ever has. A signature that defies every known law of reflection and refraction. And now astronomers and astrophysicists are left grappling with a single, chilling question. What is 3 Atlas really? 3 Atlas was first discovered as a faint speck skimming the edges of our solar system, moving along a trajectory no local object could possibly follow. It was undeniably interstellar, a traveler born far beyond the pole of our sun, cast adrift through the galaxy by forces we don't yet understand, now silently passing through our cosmic neighborhood. At first, it was brushed off as a fascinating curiosity, much like its famous predecessors, Oumuamua and Borisov. But even in its earliest images, something about it felt off. Unlike most interstellar visitors, 3 Atlas shone with an intensity that didn't match its estimated size or composition. Its brightness was steady, unwavering, and unervingly unnatural. There was no fading, no sudden flares, no jets of dust or gas being released as it drew closer to solar heat. Instead, it glimmered as if powered from within, as if some unseen mechanism was keeping it alight. Telescopes around the world locked their gaze on this mysterious object, and eventually, the James Webb Space Telescope, with its unmatched ability to pierce the infrared spectrum, was tasked with solving the puzzle. What Webb saw didn't just fail to answer the mystery, it shattered every expectation. Perched a million miles from Earth at the Lagrange point, Webb is designed to see the unseen, to peel back layers of cosmic noise and reveal the truths hidden in darkness. Its instruments turned toward 3 Atlas with the hope of making sense of its strange glow. Instead, they deepened the mystery. What Webb recorded was a centralized source of heat, radiating outward, not light bouncing off its surface, but something glowing from deep within. Comets and asteroids shine because sunlight reflects off their dust and ice, but this was different. 3 Atlas was emitting energy. The telescope's thermal scans mapped out a strange pattern, one that didn't match any known distribution of heat on natural objects. Even more unsettling, the glow appeared to pulse faintly and at irregular intervals, like a slow, deliberate heartbeat echoing across space. Scientists tried to explain it away. Theories emerged, perhaps radioactive decay, friction from internal movement, or even exotic isotopes never before seen. But as more data flowed in from Webb, Hubble, and observatories across the globe, each theory crumbled. The simplest explanation, the one no one wanted to write down, was terrifying. This object might be powered. The deeper the study went, the clearer its alien profile became. 3 Atlas was no rogue piece of rock or frozen debris. Its path through the solar system was unervingly precise, as if it was making choices, adjusting its route ever so slightly as it navigated gravitational currents. Its spin was equally unnatural, showing no signs of random tumbling, but instead a controlled, stable rotation. And despite its proximity to sunlight, there was no trace of a comet's telltale tail, no outgassing or ice evaporation. It was as if the object was shielded, encased in some kind of material built to endure extreme conditions. Then came the revelation that sent shockwaves through the astronomical community. Measurements of its surface reflectivity, its albedo, revealed something unheard of. Parts of the object reflected light nearly perfectly, with a brilliance close to polished metal. This wasn't ice, dust, or rock. This was something engineered, metallic, structured, radiating energy. That's when the conversations behind closed doors took a dramatic turn. If this was no natural object, then we were staring at something humanity has never encountered before. Not a comet, not an asteroid, not a piece of cosmic debris. We were observing technology. Suddenly, whispers of the word probe began circulating in quiet conversations. Other terms followed: beacon, craft, even artifact. The thought that this object could be an alien spacecraft was no longer dismissed as fringe speculation reserved for conspiracy forums. It was now part of encrypted email chains and confidential discussions within major institutions. But perhaps the most damning piece of evidence wasn't the unusual heat emissions, its precise trajectory, or even the metallic composition. It was the light. Photometric analysis revealed something deeply unsettling. The light coming from 3 Atlas wasn't a broad, natural reflection of sunlight. It was concentrated, emitted within a narrow, controlled band of wavelengths. This is the same method we use in LED systems, laser communications, and spacecraft signal beacons. Even more disturbing, this spectral band included frequencies widely used in guidance and communication systems here on Earth. On top of that, the intensity of the light appeared to subtly adjust in real time in response to solar radiation, as if an onboard system was actively modulating it. It didn't flicker randomly, it pulsed intermittently, like a message or a heartbeat. Astronomers ran the data through signal analysis software, searching for patterns. The results were inconclusive, but they weren't meaningless. Some researchers claimed the pulses resembled binary sequences, while others suggested a rotating power source. Regardless of interpretation, one conclusion stood out. This object wasn't passive. It was active. It was doing something deliberate, and humanity was watching it unfold in real time. As data continued to flood in, a team of astrophysicists from MIT and Harvard performed a deep signal analysis of the electromagnetic emissions pouring off 3 Atlas. At first glance, the frequencies appeared chaotic, a jumble of static spread across the spectrum. But after applying Fourier transforms to sift through the noise, something extraordinary emerged. Hidden within the static, like a whisper beneath layers of interference, was a structured, repeating pulse. It was far too precise to be natural. It wasn't binary in the traditional sense, nor was it any known modulation used in human communication systems, yet it carried the undeniable signature of deliberate encoding. Speculation erupted among the team. Some believed it might be a beacon, an automated broadcast sent out for receivers not of this world. Others thought it could be telemetry, a constant stream of data relayed back to wherever this object came from. The unsettling detail was this: since the James Webb first picked it up, the signal hadn't changed. It was fixed, steady, like a message already in transit to its intended destination. That raised an even more chilling possibility. 3 Atlas wasn't trying to communicate with us at all. It was talking to someone, or something else. News of this revelation moved quickly through top scientific and defense agencies. A classified report circulated inside NASA, and though it was meant to stay secret, parts of it leaked to an unnamed journalist. The document revealed that officials were already in contact with international space agencies, urgently assessing whether 3 Atlas posed a threat. Some scientists pushed for calm, suggesting the object could be ancient, a relic probe centuries or millennia old, simply following a programmed path. But others raised alarms. If it was transmitting signals, who was on the other end? If it was emitting light, was it capable of propulsion? And most importantly, if it was here deliberately, why now? The report even speculated, carefully and in vague language, that 3 Atlas could be observing planetary alignments, electromagnetic signatures, or advanced civilizations. The possibility sparked quiet panic behind closed doors, because if this object wasn't alone, then something or someone else might already be on its way, the entity that sent it. Further study of its unusual luminosity led to an even more shocking theory. Researchers began to suspect that 3 Atlas wasn't just emitting energy. It was harvesting it. Observations revealed that its light output fluctuated in direct correlation with its distance from the sun. Combined with the absence of chemical reactions or traditional propulsion markers, scientists began hypothesizing that the object might possess a solar collection array or a photonic absorption system beneath its outer shell. One theorist, Dr. Lowe, along with a small team of researchers, suggested that the faint dust cloud around the object wasn't random debris. Instead, they proposed it could serve a dual function: a layer of camouflage to obscure its artificial structure, and a sophisticated medium to absorb solar radiation for energy. In other words, 3 Atlas might not just be a visitor from another star. It could be a machine designed to survive in deep space, hiding in plain sight while silently drawing power from our sun. If true, this would mean 3 Atlas is not just an object drifting through space but a self-sustaining craft, engineered to travel indefinitely across the galaxy, refueling itself as it moves from star to star. This concept mirrors long-discussed theoretical models of interstellar probes, machines capable of lying dormant for centuries, awakening only when they encounter a system worthy of study. If our solar system was enough to trigger its activation, then whatever intelligence sent it has already received the signal. As space agencies worldwide scrambled for answers, one truth became undeniable: we are not prepared. Despite decades of speculation about extraterrestrial contact, humanity's systems, political, scientific, philosophical, are woefully unprepared for what 3 Atlas might represent. No public statements had been made, but leaked documents from agencies in France, Japan, and Brazil all echoed the same unsettling conclusion. This was not just a strange anomaly. It might be the first contact humanity has ever experienced, happening slowly, quietly, without ceremony. Unlike the dramatic depictions in films, there was no landing, no spaceship looming overhead, no booming declaration of intent. There was only light, only silence, only data. The James Webb Space Telescope continues to observe the object daily, yet every answer it provides seems to create more questions. If this is contact, it is on their terms, not ours. Quiet, distant, unnerving. And perhaps that is the most terrifying element of all. This may not be an invitation. It may be surveillance. And if that's the case, we have already been seen. Then, just as astronomers were growing used to its steady behavior, 3 Atlas did something unexpected. Its luminosity spiked dramatically. The change wasn't gradual, like a comet reflecting more sunlight as it approached the inner solar system. It was sudden, a sharp flare captured live by the James Webb Telescope and confirmed by multiple ground-based observatories. In less than 2 minutes, its brightness jumped by nearly 40%, then stabilized at this new intensity. No natural explanation fit the data. There was no evidence of solar-wind interaction, no signs of an impact, no fragments breaking off. It was as though a switch had been flipped. The flare wasn't only visual, it came with a measurable shift in the object's thermal signature, almost as if systems on board had powered up. Theorists began to suggest a chilling possibility. 3 Atlas had awakened, either triggered by its proximity to our star or perhaps even by our attempts to study it. And if this surge of activity was intentional, it wasn't just a reaction. It was a signal. It was meant to be seen. Following this anomalous brightening, orbital data revealed something even more concerning. 3 Atlas was no longer following its predicted course. Its path had shifted slightly, just enough to be measurable, but too deliberate to be dismissed as coincidence. Gravity alone couldn't explain it. Even solar radiation pressure, often blamed for slight course changes in lightweight objects, didn't make sense here. The numbers pointed to a maneuver. Its new trajectory angled deeper into the solar system, adjusting its inclination to align closer to the plane of Earth's orbit. The object was no longer just passing through. It had changed lanes. Some scientists urged caution, calling it a coincidence or a gravitational fluke. But others recognized the truth. This was a controlled movement, a subtle correction that no natural object would make. If 3 Atlas was capable of even minimal propulsion or navigation, it was no relic drifting aimlessly through space. It was a vessel in motion, a vessel with intent. As it moved closer, both Webb and Hubble trained their most advanced instruments on it, capturing spectral readings that revealed more than anyone expected. The analysis exposed traces of materials that shouldn't exist on a natural rock. Highly reflective alloys were detected, along with rare earth elements rarely found in significant concentrations outside engineered environments. And then came the discovery that left scientists stunned. The spectral data showed absorption lines corresponding to compounds that don't match anything in our periodic table. These were elements unknown to human science, substances that cannot be naturally formed in any known cosmic process. This was no coincidence. Every new piece of data pointed in the same direction. 3 Atlas was designed. It was built. It was technology from somewhere beyond Earth, and now it was awake. These were not the kinds of materials one would expect to find in a frozen chunk of interstellar rock. They weren't natural. They were engineered, or at the very least synthesized, under conditions unknown to exist naturally. One spectral profile matched no known chemical process but closely resembled theoretical compounds proposed only in the most advanced quantum material laboratories. Substances like these were thought to exist only under conditions of intense magnetic fields or in environments governed by quantum confinement. The discovery implied one of 2 staggering possibilities. Either the object was unfathomably ancient, predating human civilization by millennia, or it was of recent construction, manufactured by a civilization far beyond our technological capabilities. In a way, the materials themselves spoke louder than any message. Even if humanity couldn't decode the signal, the messenger itself was proof of something unnatural. With the evidence mounting, pointing toward an artificial origin, governments and agencies around the world began reacting with unmistakable urgency. Observatory networks suddenly saw their encryption levels increased. Research teams were abruptly reassigned with no explanation. Across continents, satellites underwent a wave of mysterious recalibrations. Spacefaring nations quietly initiated closed-door contingency discussions. One leaked report from an international defense consortium delivered the most chilling theory yet. 3 Atlas might not be alone. It could be a scout. Its structure, its rotation stability, and its ability to remain operational over interstellar distances all pointed to a design intended for long-term observation. And if it was scouting, the questions became far more unsettling. What was it looking for? And, more importantly, what might follow? Across universities, research observatories, and military command centers, one grim consensus began to take hold. We were no longer alone in the universe. And this first contact might not come as a peaceful conversation. It could be an evaluation. As speculation reached a fever pitch, a bold team at the SETI Institute decided to take a risk no one else dared. They transmitted a highly focused radio signal directly at the projected coordinates of 3 Atlas. The transmission carried universal mathematical constants, the periodic table, and basic visual representations of humanity. A cautious attempt at a cosmic handshake, a simple hello. Days went by with no response. Then a week. The experiment was close to being filed away as yet another unanswered call into the dark when a monitoring station in Chile picked up something extraordinary. A narrowband return pulse. It was slightly off frequency, distorted, but unmistakably timed to match the original signal. It wasn't a reply in words, nor was it a simple echo. It was a ping, a deliberate response with just enough alteration to prove it had been processed. It had been received. It had been sent back. But what shook the team most wasn't the content of the signal, it was the timing. The reply arrived exactly 72 hours after transmission, down to the second. Something out there had not only heard humanity's message but calculated the delay and chosen to respond with precision. Following this chilling development, observatories worldwide began reporting strange anomalies. Webb's infrared mapping systems started producing erratic thermal readings for the first time since its launch. Hubble's gyroscopic sensors showed unexplained microfluctuations even though its orientation remained stable. Ground-based telescopes began experiencing what were first dismissed as software glitches. Misaligned star charts, unexplained pixel distortions, data streams freezing only when aimed directly at 3 Atlas. But the anomalies weren't random. They occurred in synchronized windows, almost as if coordinated. As if something, or someone, didn't want humanity to look too closely. A classified theory soon emerged from a Black Ops think tank deep within the European Space Agency. The object wasn't just transmitting signals. It was interfering with ours. It was jamming us. The implications of this were staggering. A passive visitor doesn't hide itself. A scout does. If this object was controlling what we could see and when we could see it, then we weren't observing it on our terms. We were being allowed to observe it. And then came the silence. Within days of the signal event and the technical disruptions, updates from Webb slowed to a crawl, then became restricted, and eventually were rerouted entirely. Public logs were no longer accessible. The European Space Agency issued a vague statement claiming instrument recalibration. NASA stopped commenting altogether. Even the most reputable journals, which had been closely covering 3 Atlas, began retracting their detailed reports or replacing them with neutral summaries devoid of substance. The astrophysics community fractured. Some believed the agencies were simply being cautious, working to verify findings before releasing them. Others feared something darker, that the truth had already been confirmed and now it was being locked away. Independent observatories, still trying to share raw data, were quickly drowned out by a rising flood of misinformation and speculation. The conversation shifted from scientific curiosity to geopolitical strategy. 3 Atlas was no longer a mystery to be solved. It had become a classified asset. And history has shown time and time again what happens when governments declare a discovery too dangerous for the public. Truth dies in silence. In a final attempt to make sense of what they were witnessing, a coalition of astronomers and mathematicians shifted their focus to pattern recognition and probability theory. They were no longer searching for communication. They were searching for proof of intent. That's when they uncovered the most chilling pattern of all. The object's path through the solar system, which at first appeared random and natural, aligned perfectly with a Fibonacci arc when charted against planetary positions, a spiral of mathematical beauty found throughout nature, yet also deeply embedded in many Earth-based communication systems. Even more unsettling, the timing of its trajectory adjustments, bursts of light, and the return ping all corresponded with prime number sequences. The odds of this happening by chance were virtually impossible. This was intentional. Someone, or something, had chosen these patterns. 3 Atlas wasn't just drifting through space. It was navigating with mathematical precision, as if following a map, or worse, a schedule. Theorists began to whisper an idea so terrifying that few dared to say it aloud. This might not just be a probe. It might be a message. A message not written in symbols or sound but in movement, in behavior. And humanity had just deciphered its first word. As the chaos of speculation began to settle, one truth was impossible to deny. 3 Atlas was never just a piece of interstellar rock. From its unnatural glow to the deliberate signal it returned. From its exotic, impossible materials to its calculated trajectory adjustments, every detail pointed to the same chilling conclusion. We have not been alone for a very long time. And maybe we were never supposed to know. The James Webb Space Telescope, a marvel built to look back in time and witness the birth of galaxies, may have instead captured a glimpse of something built to look back at us. Not from the safety of a distant star system, but from right here at the edge of our own celestial backyard. And yet, silence continues. Agencies refuse to speak. Data is locked away. The world, it seems, has been judged not ready. But we saw the light. We followed its path. And now, a question haunts every rational mind on this planet. What comes next? Was 3 Atlas simply passing through, quietly observing our fragile blue world before moving on? Or was it just the first? A scout sent ahead of something greater, something waiting for a signal to follow. In the end, it may not even matter whether this object was a machine or something far beyond our understanding. What matters is that it came. It saw. And it responded. Somewhere in the depths of the universe, something has turned its attention toward the planet that dared to reach out first. The countdown may already have begun. And the cosmos has once again reminded us of a truth we've always tried to ignore. We are not the center. We are the observed.